So we're going to start off by just kind of going through some work from home slides. We'll get into actual and at-home ergonomic tip and trick session from our own Kevin Butler, which I'm super excited about. Talk a little bit more about some research, and then we'll get into how Custer is actually building out their own space using some of these design principles. So we'll just jump right in. So work from home has been a reality for many of us since the pandemic. This is something that we kind of coined the mandatory work from home experiment. So I'm sure a lot of you today are calling in from maybe your dining room table, maybe your living room over lunch. It's something that we've dealt with, and we're learning to kind of adjust to as well. This right here is just a brief snippet of some of our own research that Steelcase has conducted. So this is a global workplace analytics survey, kind of taking a look at what working from home looked like before the pandemic. What did it look like during? So March of 2020, everyone was at home 5 days a week, and then kind of what does the future look like? What is this hybrid space or model evolving into? So I'm sure some of these photos right here might resonate with a few of you. So what we learned was only 29% of employees had an ergonomic chair. 50% always or almost always worked at a desk, and 30% agreed that they have a workplace at home that is comfortable. So I think this leads us to our first poll of the session. Since the pandemic began, which one of these have you made your home office? I'm anticipating a lot of dining room tables. Wow. Bedroom, other. Interesting. So we've all learned to work in different environments. That's for sure. I'm curious to know what those others are. Awesome. Well, thank you all for the participation there. So Steelcase's approach, we really want to focus on high performance solutions that support productivity at work. And this is safety and just solutions that are ergonomically correct, which Kevin will hit on. And as we know, every employee's situation is different. Not everybody has that home office to work out of, that task chair, that height adjustable desk. So we're working to kind of suit some of those needs and make sure that people are indeed safe if they are working at their dining room table. So ways that we can help, best in class ergonomics, like I mentioned, products that pass consumer product safety reviews, because safety is critically important and it's something that we really pride ourselves in. So having said that, Kevin, I'm going to turn it over to you. Kevin Butler is Steelcase's certified professional ergonomist. He is a Fitwell ambassador and a guru of all things well-being. So Kevin, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to make you the presenter. I think if you talk, it might make you the presenter. Let me stop sharing my content right now, and it'll make you the presenter here.
Yep. I went audio on, and so I need a confirmation that I'm big and that you can hear me.
You are big and we can hear you, Kevin.
Perfect.
Whitney, I asked you to tell me if I was big and if you could hear me. You did that, so if you want to stop working after this webinar is over, I am giving you full permission. Deal?
Deal. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Hey guys, thank you for joining us. Super stoked to be on. Thanks for the trust. I know time is scarce. I know things are crazy, so thank you. Seriously, means a lot. So as Christian said, kind of nerdy, certified ergonomist. Worked for Steelcase. It'll be 11 years in June. And what's been really interesting is I'm sure many of us have had to maybe reinvent, at least evolve, right? What we thought of as work or what we thought of as school, whatever that is, family. I'm held up in my basement right now. So my three daughters, my amazing wife, they have completely hijacked my first floor. Even after as they go back, right? I've got Legos here and slime there, and it's just like I have to hide out in my basement. So I've I've kind of got outfitted with a bunch of stuff. Some people have that stuff, some people don't. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because even as we go back, even as we find whatever that hybrid is for us, time at home working and staying productive is kind of here to stay, right? Whether that's 1 day a week, 2 days a week, a half a day, 4 days, whatever that is, it's not going anywhere. So what we're seeing is that a lot of people are realizing this and they're starting to invest. Hopefully that investment is being subsidized in part or whole by the institution or organizations that an individual is working for. We do see a very large uptick in gear, right, in outfitting a space if that's in place. But regardless, we are seeing people be more committed or carving out a niche or a space. I have an ergonomist friend that works for Intel. He actually hijacked his daughter's closet as a space where he works in. It's really kind of funny. He kind of grays out his background because there's a lot of pinks and a lot of taupe in that room. And anyway, people are starting to carve out space. And regardless of what you have, I'm actually sitting at a height adjustable desk. I've got a monitor arm, a lamp. I've got a chair. I had to take the spare bedroom down here and put chairs in it entirely because I have to shoot in any given day like a multitude of videos. But then right next to me, I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is a chair that you guys can probably relate to. If you don't have this stuff, it's a wood chair. It's got 4 legs. This one's from IKEA. And actually, I took this one from my daughter's craft table up in the den, right? So we're all dealing with certain situations with individual differences. The reason why I wanted to talk to you guys is regardless of your situation, what do you do, right? What do you do? Where do you start? How do you optimize? How do you avoid the pain cave, if you will? And the way I start is I start with just a recognition of what posture we're likely working in if we're not doing well, okay? I actually had a best friend of mine who was in my wedding party text me a few days ago and say, hey, I need you to recommend a chair or two because he's completely wrecked from having worked in the dining room for like a year and a half. So first things first is recognize the posture that we're in. So a lot of us are dealing with a table that's too high. So I'm going to raise this up a little bit. A lot of us are dealing with a chair that maybe doesn't move up and down. If it does, great. But a lot of us are dealing with a posture that looks something like this. So if you guys can relate to this, hopefully you can. Well, hopefully you can't or don't have to. But most of us are like, wait a minute, I recognize that position, right? This is not a choice. This is something that we're forced into because the desk is too high, the chair doesn't move, whatever the case may be. So let's assume that you've got a few things, okay? So I'm sitting actually, this is a Steelcase Amiya Air chair. It's a really good value purchase that has kind of the essential knobs and levers on it and the adjustment features on it that you'll need for long-term sitting, but it won't break the bank. Let's say we've got a chair that does something. Let's say we have a table that goes up and down. And by the way, if you're wondering, what is the order of product purchased for somebody that is taking things a little bit more seriously? It is almost always first a chair. It then shifts over to a height adjustable desk. It will often then go over to a monitor arm. And then after that, either a footrest or a task light. So if you're wondering kind of what that Steelcase store online traffic looks like, that's the order, okay? Now, let's first talk about how do we fix the posture that you guys just saw. That's a table too high, a chair too low, or both. Well, we need to find what's called resting elbow height. Resting elbow height. That's the position that we know is best for our bodies when it comes to actually using a keyboard and using a mouse. So if I'm here, okay, and I brought my desk down, okay, if I'm here and I pull this chair over and I've got my feet on the floor, my thighs are approximately parallel to the ground, I'm actually seated in the chair, the seat pan depth is set appropriately, everything's gold. If I roll up to this, as you can see, this is pretty good, right? I can actually roll up here, but it's not perfect. And what I mean by that is my shoulders are almost completely relaxed, but not totally. So for me, this is resting elbow height right here. So you can see I've got a couple of inches of improvement there, okay? So I'm gonna bring this down. I'm gonna roll up. And right here, I am almost exactly where I need to be in regards to my shoulder position, my elbow position, my hands, where the keyboard, where the mouse come in. So this is resting elbow height. Now, you might be saying, all right, smarty pants, I have a desk, but it doesn't do what yours does. Well, that's fine. Get the chair. In this case, if I had a desk that was too high, okay, it doesn't move, but I had a chair, right? So no desk, but chair. I'm going to take this thing and I'm going to bring it up as high as it goes. Now, you might realize your feet come off the floor. Okay, that's where you need something underneath your feet, like a footrest or a trash can or a ream of paper or something to put your feet flat on. But as you guys can see, by doing this, my desk was too high. It's no longer too high. So because I had the chair, I basically gave myself a fighting shot. Now, in this scenario, if you've got this one, I actually use cushions. So I actually take cushions, believe it or not, from the patio outside, and they're like thin and like weatherproof, and I usually stack 2 of them up and put them on the seat pan and sit on top of those to basically change or auto correct the ratio. Okay, so there's ways to do this, whether you've got this or anything that you're dealing with. But the key is to focus on it. First, accept that that's the posture you're in. Look for resting elbow height, and that everything kind of rolls down from there. Okay, so let's assume that we've got resting elbow height. So my chair's all the way up, my table is a little bit high, it's all good, but I've found resting elbow height. Okay, now for a lot of people, resting elbow height means that the monitor is now going to be in a weird spot, right? So if you're working off of a laptop, first thing to do there is to separate the keys and the monitor, right? So a lot of people ask, Kevin, what's the best $15 or $20 purchase? If that's all I've got, it's to buy an external keyboard and mouse, right? Because then you can actually split the keyboard from the monitor. You can get yourself in a good spot. You can line up here, okay? You can actually give yourself a fighting chance, right? Now, as far as the monitor is concerned, if you don't have an arm, so be it. If you've got just a laptop, but you have an external keyboard, that's a great start. But the thing that you want to do is you want to keep the monitor at least an arm's length away. You want to keep the top portion of the text just below eye level. So for many people, when they send me a picture and say, Kevin, assess the workstation, tell me what I should fix, tell me what I should do first, second, and third. For a lot of people, the chair's not right, right? The ratio, the resting elbow height, that's not right. That's step number 1, okay? A lot of times the monitor is too high off to the side, or you're working off of a laptop. You got to split the keyboard and the mouse, right? You got to give yourself a shot to actually get that screen up and away in a lot of cases. But if I bring this back down, I know a whole bunch of people who have a monitor that's, you know, way up here, right? So you got to correct that as well. So again, we're looking for resting elbow height. If you've got tools, use them, okay? Use them well. If you have additional questions, just let me know. Get your resting elbow height, get your monitor in the best place, and everything else should be good from there. So again, just wanted to step in, take 5, 8, 10 minutes of fame to walk through tips and tricks, hacks, best practices. Hopefully it was helpful. If you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm never going to remember that, this is being recorded. So hopefully I didn't jump all over the place too much, but rewatch it if you have to. We're here to help if you have any additional questions. And back to you, Christian.
Awesome. Thank you, Kevin. Hey, as I'm switching over to the slide deck, does anybody have any questions for Kevin? Is your screen flickering like mine?
Yep, there you go.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you. Awesome. Cool. Well, in the interest of time here, we're going to do, and we're really going to kind of scratch the surface here. So this is a high-level overview of the research that Steelcase published called Work Better. So I would say, you know, over the past year, there's been just a lot of speculation in our industry since the start of the pandemic. There's been a lot of noise. So I would say, you know, Steelcase as a company has really tried to put a stake in the ground to look at science and research to really back everything that we've been putting out there. Early on, we relied on some of the research from the CDC. And then as the pandemic kind of went on, we relied heavily on our own research as a research company in collaboration with MIT and other organizations. So this particular global research that we've conducted since March 2020, you can see there's been 8+ primary studies, 32,000 surveys and conversations that have been had. We've analyzed over 8,000 floor plans within 10 countries. So a lot is happening. One of the things that we quickly realized as people were returning to the office last summer is that it just wasn't the most compelling or inspiring. As you can see, chairs were like physical distanced apart from each other. There was just a lot of cardboard, temp checks, all of that. And we had close to 70% of our people back on campus over last summer. So it just wasn't the best experience as people were first starting to come back. So I would say working from home, it's really changed the expectation. People are expecting to come back to a place that's better than what the office used to be. Safe and compelling. Those are two areas of focus for Steelcase as a company. So there was a big opportunity for us. We were truly able to synthesize, what people liked and didn't like. Initially, people liked the heads down aspect of it in the range of settings in their home. They could work from the dining room table. They could shift over into the living room in the afternoon. But others, they didn't like the isolation. But most pertinent, gradually, over time, people felt less productive working from home. I think there's been burnouts with some of the Zoom happy hours and stuff like that. Initially, that was fun, but as time went on, people started to feel this Zoom fatigue and Teams fatigue. That was a real thing. I'll just say too, I'm just gonna quick pause. If anybody has any questions along the way, feel free to drop them in the chat. We will monitor and get to those towards the end of the session. So moving forward, we just view this as a huge transformational moment in our industry. This is a question that's on every organization's mind right now is, space aside, what does workplace strategy look like and how and where are people going to work? So there's been 3 emerging models that have really came out to this, which we'll hit on later on. But we've really focused on the 5 things people need, some of these macro shifts in how we think about the workplace, and then design principles. So we're going to talk a little bit about the 5 things people need, and then we'll hit on the design principles and how some of those design principles actually informed Custer's new showroom downtown Grand Rapids. So here's a high-level look at some of the things people need when returning to work. So we'll hit on each one individually real quick. So safety. Safety is number 1. This is critically important. This is something that we view kind of as the ticket to the dance, and something that we need to focus on not only today, but in the future as well. I would say people are at a point where they're pandemic aware. Although the vaccine is being rolled out, we know that things aren't going to be back to 100% completely normal in the future. People viewed air quality and adherence to safety protocols as the number 1 tied to safety, the 2 top things tied to this bucket of safety. So as a result of that, Steelcase has partnered with MIT, specifically Dr. Lydia Baruba in her lab on kind of studying how particles are transmitted through air. So I would say one of the things that we've learned through this is that science takes time, but we're truly learning to be patient with these findings as they become released. The second need is this sense of belonging. I think it goes without saying that we've been leveraging social capital for so long, and it's slowly melting. So we've really tied metrics to a person's sense of community. And it's a really interesting correlation at how these metrics of purpose, belonging, resilience, trust, inclusivity, how they're tied to these outcomes of productivity, engagement, retention, and innovation. So there is an interesting correlation, and it all ties back to people wanting to feel that sense of belonging. The third need here talks to productivity. So when people are unhappy working from their home, their performance actually suffers. So I think the start of the pandemic, people felt like they were more productive at home, but over time, their engagement started to really drop. I would say performance truly suffers when people are unhappy working from home. This is a pretty interesting slide here. So this is building on the topic of productivity as well. So when you look at the leaders and employees' motives of getting back in the office, both wanted collaboration and focus. So building onto this, there's a lot of talk around the office being this social hub, and we know work isn't truly an ebb and flow. People aren't necessarily focusing 8 hours a day every day, and they're also not collaborating 8 hours a day every day. So we need to find this balance to support both. And then getting into the sense of comfort, people want a holistic sense of comfort and well-being in the workplace. Some people work from their beds, like it was shown in the poll. Others worked at the kitchen counter. So comfort truly means a range of postures, settings, and really just the ability to move around. So hitting on the 3 buckets of physical, cognitive, and emotional as well. And then last, but certainly not least of people's needs is control. And this really hits on kind of the idea of flexibility and kind of how and where to work. So when people were asked how much they expect to work from home, 54% actually answered 1 day a week or less. And this is stemmed from our US work experience diagnostic and global active collaboration study. So this is an internal research initiative. And then hitting on the idea of flexibility as well as the ability to reconfigure their own furniture. So most workers, they truly want control over their individual and team spaces, but right now only 38% can reconfigure their own furniture. So we're seeing a huge push from a product development perspective with flexible furniture like I'm sitting in. I have screens next to me, adjustable desk, just the ability to reconfigure and bring in elements to create a flexible workspace. And then these are the 3 kind of emerging models that I had mentioned earlier. So we asked business leaders around the world kind of what their strategy is going to be moving forward. And it's no surprise that 72% believe they'll have some type of hybrid model. But it's a question that's, it's on everyone's mind. So what is it going to look like? And 23% answered that they'll be kind of back to normal, back in the office, and only 5% working from home. So a lot of conversations around the hybrid future and what that looks like. And then hitting on some of the design principles. So before I turn it over to Kim to kind of share some before and afters of Custer's showroom, I just kind of want to hit on some of these design principles that really came out of some of the emerging needs when people go back to work. So I'll briefly kind of hit on each one. So the me and we is really an idea to, when you come to the office, not only to collaborate, to focus, but to also focus. So it's balancing kind of individual private spaces as well. So people need the ability to be able to shift from focusing on alone work to be able to work together with other people. Like I mentioned, work is truly an ebb and flow. Fixed to fluid. Fixed to fluid is an interesting one. So spaces will need to be designed with greater flexibility and mobility moving forward. While we're working through COVID now, we want to be able to create and produce products that will withstand. Hopefully, there's never ever another pandemic like we're living through now, but any future disruption. Then open and close is a pretty interesting one. We're seeing a lot of new patterns kind of emerge from this pandemic. Collaboration is happening in more open spaces. So this is one where if you think of your traditional kind of war room or your conference room, people are having a lot of those types of conversations out in the open, or even like a one-on-one with your manager. People are feeling safer meeting in an open environment. And I would say, too, just speaking on behalf of Steelcase here, we've we've had our cafe, and we've turned that into more of our social hub. So there's a lot of kind of teaming elements and different applications that really support collaboration in an open setting. Then just talking about braiding the digital and physical. So this is one where many companies, as I mentioned, they're moving towards this hybrid approach. So this means many meetings will include people physically in person, while including those that are working from home. So really, how can we democratize that platform and make those that are working from home feel like they have a physical seat at the table? So using our smart and connected technology and other solutions to truly tie them in. There's a mobile cart next to me, but making those that are working from home feel like they're in person with their teams. So that's a big initiative that we've been working on in a design principle, kind of informing future applications and solutions for Steelcase as a company. So breezed through those fairly quickly to allow for some Q&A, but I'm going to use this time to turn it over to Kim Lissman and Todd Custer from the Custer team to kind of share their story and how they're using some of these design principles to inform their real estate strategy. So Kim, over to you.
Thanks, Christian. This is actually Todd. Hi, everyone. I joined on a little bit late. Can everyone see me and hear me? Give me a thumbs up. Okay, awesome. Kim, actually, it's going to be me running the show. Kim, actually, the world we live in now, right during this call, Kim got a call from her son's school that they have a positive COVID case and that everyone's got to come pick up their kids. So that's the world we live in. So it's just bizarre. But thanks, Christian. Thanks, Kevin. Great insight. Again, my name's Todd Custer. I'm CEO of Custer and all our Custer family of companies. And it's been really interesting over the past year in looking at our world and our world of space. And when that's what you do for a living, design office space, design healthcare space, education space, that's what we do. So we live and breathe this every single day. And really looking at how we're going to approach the future of our work internally at Custer, and really talking about, like Christian said, that 72% of most people are going to that hybrid model where people will be working from home and people will be working in the office. Now, if I think about just West Michigan, I think we have higher numbers of people in the office, probably than that 23%. I think it's more of like 35% of West Michigan companies want their people in the office and not at home at all. And I think that just differs depending on where you are across the country or globally. But here at Custer, we're going to do a hybrid approach where I'm really trying to promote our leaders and our people to adopt a schedule that works best for them and to work where you are and work where you do your best work and when you do your best work. That's not necessarily a 8 to 5 or a 9 to 6 or whatever it is. Some people are very early morning people and they like to get their work done from 5 in the morning or 4 in the morning to 7 a.m. And some people are better, late mornings. Some people are better at night. We have a lot of creatives. A lot of our designers do their best work from 9 o'clock at night to 2 in the morning, if you ask them. So I'm all about allowing our people to do their best work and work anytime within that 24-hour period when they get the most out of themselves. So, and whether that's, at home in a home office or it's in one of our spaces or it's somewhere else, we really want to give them that flexibility. We also want to make sure that we're offering the best spaces we can offer in our spaces here at Custer. And that's extremely important because we want our people to come to our spaces. We have 7 different locations across Michigan and northern Indiana. Each one is a working showroom. And we want people to come into our spaces and use our spaces because we know our culture, our energy, our decision-making, our innovation, everyone does better when they're around other people and sharing ideas and collaborating. And that works really, really well. Studies have shown that. But at the same time, people do need their introverted time and their heads down time. And we want to provide spaces to do that here in our showrooms. But we also know that people can do that at home too. The more the tactical type work, heads down work, people can do that at home at different times as well. So we looked at reimagining a lot of our spaces, and we started here. I'm actually looking out at our space right here, our first floor at our headquarters in downtown Grand Rapids at 2 Granville, right next to Founders Brewery. Knows where Founders is. I lost the content there. Oh, there's back. It went away for a second. We're right next to Founders Brewing, right downtown, and we took our whole first floor and we gutted it and said, okay, let's try something different, something we've never done on our first floor. And let's start to think and reimagine about what people are going to want moving forward in an office space or a workspace. And we took a lot of Steelcase's research that Christian was talking about, and we started to really think about a couple different areas. First of all, mental well-being, right? A space that really lends itself to a healthy mental well-being, in a space where people can feel at home and they feel very comfortable, and it's very soft and it's very welcoming, and it's a really good experience. We also wanted to focus on productivity too, though. We wanted a diverse set of spaces where people could go. Christian mentioned, and all of you have experienced this, I have too, at home. Sometimes you may be at your bar, your kitchen bar, then you go into maybe your home office, then maybe you're on the couch, then you're in your bedroom, then maybe you're outside. You experience a lot of different spaces throughout your home. And we've been so versed in the office that we have a workstation or we have a private office, and we're never allowed to leave that workstation, right? Like, our name's there and we're chained to that workstation 8, 9, 10 hours a day, or that office, whatever it is. That's not healthy. And why did we ever do that? You start to look back and what we've learned. Why did we make people sit in one spot all day from 8 to 5? Some people don't do good work in the morning. Some people don't do great work in the afternoon. Some people have my dead period is from 2 to 4 every day. I'm unproductive. I need to be working out. I need to be doing something else from that time period because my brain's at its worst from 2 to 4 in the afternoon. So why did we make people just sit at one spot all day? We want to offer a diverse set of spaces, whether it's a booth, a phone booth that I'm in right now, or a sit-to-stand desk, or a comfortable lounge type setting. But we want to offer a lot of different spaces that people could come into our office and do their best work. So that was really important. And the third one was all around company culture. We wanted to make sure that we had, again, very inviting spaces, spaces that provided a great experience, spaces that were well branded, spaces that really encompassed and talked about our core values and really showed our core values, and make sure that we really express that throughout our spaces as well. So 3 big things that we focused on when we looked at doing this first floor pilot space, to get feedback and to just trial and see what happened. Again, along with those 3, some other things we were really focused on. Some of the other design principles we focused on was, again, harness home and hospitality, take a lot of the great things that we experience at home and bring them into the office, as well as offering good hospitality. So I'm all about having good coffee on hand, having good snacks, and like good snacks, right? Not just the junk food, but having good protein, good snacks, good meals for our people, and bringing some of that hospitality into the office to make sure that it does feel like home, right? Another reason why we like working at home too is that we have good food at home that we have access to. We don't have to go to the vending machines. So that was important. The second one was embracing technology and togetherness. So we wanted to make sure that we had really, really good technology throughout the space too. So we know that's important. The more Teams calls, Zoom calls that we do, we want to make sure that the experience is good on both ends. The sound is good, The microphone's good, the camera's good, it's easy to connect to. And we wanted to do that to bring people together. So we want people to come into our spaces to do Teams calls and to connect with our clients, and not always try to do that at home by themselves. That lends to the next one, supporting teamwork, and me work too. So we wanted to make sure that we had collaborative spaces, but also had introverted spaces where people could do their, heads down work just by themselves as well. And then flexibility is the future. So having spaces where people can move things around and have end user control. So moving forward, with this space, we took all our companies, our partner companies. Century is a flooring company that we own. CS Erickson does all electrical and AV and technology capabilities. And then Custer, that does all the furniture and the design and everything else. We wanted to bring everyone together and really provide a fully integrated space that offers the best of everything. And then, like I said, get feedback and see how people use the space and see how people come together. So we're going to go into some pictures. Here's just a couple pictures and a couple previews of what this space looks like. You'll notice this is the entrance. To your right is what we call a video wall. So it does a great job of branding our Custer story. It talks about core values. It talks about our history. It talks about some of our design processes. It talks about other projects that we've done and gives case studies. Just a very good job of really branding the space. Then when you start to look around, it's got a lot of different elements. So you see a lot of plant life, a lot of green life. You see a lot of accessories. You see a lot of just combinations of different materials. But it really starts to feel like home with a lot of residential type aspects of the space as well. Again, thinking about technology and bringing people together, we have some of these spaces where people can come together and collaborate or have meetings. And in each space, it's going to be either a place where they can connect to technology, or a place where they can maybe close the door and have a private office, or just an open meeting space like to the left, where people, two people can sit down in a booth type setting and connect to a screen if they want, but it's a little bit less informal than some of the formal spaces we're used to. Again, here's a before picture of what that space used to be. This first floor space used to be where our administration team sat. So very, typical cubicles, high panels. This is where our accounting people met or lived, our HR specialists, our IT folks, just your very traditional workstations. It was still open, but not to the point of where we wanted it to be. Again, other areas, more lounge type settings, informal type spaces where people can go to. You see that phone booth right to the left. That's actually where I'm sitting right now. Space where people can pop in and take a 20-minute phone call or do an hour Teams call or Zoom call, just a temporary space where people can go and have some privacy. Again, some of the spaces before kind of very closed off, very uninspiring, not really spaces that we're inviting people to come in and use. This is a company called Orange Box that makes these pods. Again, an informal space where people can go in and have a 2-person, 3-person meeting and connect to technology. But again, it's a very inviting space that gives the end user control on lighting, airflow, kind of accessibility, just a unique and different type of space that we've offered before. Again, before, picture of just a typical IT station of what we had down here, more admin, administration type work. Again, now you see more residential type settings. This is one of my favorite chairs with a tablet arm. Again, screen a little bit lower, bringing in plant life, bringing in mobile marker boards there. Everything is wireless, so having wireless connection to that monitor right there so we can share content if we have 2 or 3 people or 4 people sitting around a space. So again, just a different feel of what was in that space before. There's another before picture, large workstations. We have no assigned workstations anymore moving forward. Of our, we're still designing our second floor too, but of the 80 people that work here, we're only going to have actually 2 designated assigned workstations. So the model of, come in and work wherever you want to work, you don't have to be chained to one location or one spot, is something that we're experiencing and going to start experimenting with and seeing how it works. Again, this is a typical touchdown hoteling spot where someone can come in, they can sit down, that's a height adjustable desk. They have these large screen monitors that our people can plug into and have a larger screen. They have power at the desk. All these units are mobile. So we're really encouraging people to come in and move these desks around. These mobile screens to your left and right are also mobile as well. So people can adjust their levels of privacy. And what I love about these screens too is that it really brings in a greenery, environmental side into the space, which just livens it up a little bit and brings more of that residential aspect into the commercial space. Another before picture of just traditional workstations. Here's a high-level view of this space. Again, all this can be reconfigurable. It's all flexible. Depending on how people want to use the space that day, they can reconfigure the space to accommodate them. Another teaming space that we have, again, very interactive, very easy for people to come together and share content on that screen, and a lot of residential elements into the space. Mobile technology is something we use a lot. This is the Microsoft Surface Hub on a Steelcase mobile cart that they designed with Microsoft. Again, allowing to connect to a Teams meeting anywhere. It doesn't have to be one dedicated room. This can be moved around to wherever you are within the space and be able to connect and have the camera and have the screen all there, so you have total flexibility. Old traditional private office that we just didn't need anymore. More of our what we call the living room. This is more of like the living room at your home, very comfortable, easy to sit, 4 or 5 people around this. To your right on the screen or on the pallet, the wood pallet, there is another Microsoft Surface Hub. So it's got a built-in camera, so we can do Teams meetings right from there, all in a comfortable setting. So I was just saying, Christian, to wrap up, a lot of what we're trying to do here at Custer is take everything we've learned, from Steelcase and other resources and our own experiences from talking to all our people, from surveys and small group discussions and sit-down discussions, and really talking about how people want to work moving forward. And there is an element of people working from home, and that will be a percentage of that time. And we wanted to make sure we really supported them working from home with the proper ergonomics and the proper furniture as well, but also make sure that we design something moving forward that's a very similar experience, but a better experience within all of our spaces at Custer. So more to come, but if you ever want to stop on down and see what we've done here on the first floor, you're welcome anytime.
Thanks, TC. Yeah, I believe this is our last slide here. So yeah, I'll just end things with, thank you again for just taking the time out of your day. We'd love to open this up for Q&A, but also just say too, we're having daily conversations about what work from home looks like, about any challenges with working from home, whether it's you want to talk about just work from home or a real estate strategy or what the return to work looks like. We're having conversations with customers daily. So Todd, Kevin, myself, we're here to support any of those conversations. So I guess I'll open it up for, does anybody have any questions? Was there anything in the chat? Looks like there's a few things. I see a clapping emoji or a clapping GIF. That's always good.
Well, Christian, if there are no questions that anyone has, I just wanted to take a moment here to thank you, Todd, Kevin, Kim. I'm sure she was here in spirit. I hope everything is fine with her kid. And I know I can speak for myself, but I'm guessing when Kevin was presenting, I started to feel where my elbows were, and I immediately started to straighten up my back. So this is fantastic. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And just to wrap things up, thank you everyone for joining us. As previously mentioned at the beginning, this is recorded. So at the end of this presentation, you will receive an email with a survey and the recording of this. And I'm going to quickly just drop in the chat box here. The recording will also be found on our alumni events page. So feel free to take a look at that along with any other events and upcoming Davenport dialogues that we have in the future. And thank you so much, everyone. We really appreciate it, and have a fantastic afternoon.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
Brittany. Bye, everybody.